Silo returns this week with the fifth episode of season 2, diving deeper into the aftermath of Judge Meadows' death. The events in this episode highlights the growing divide within the silo. Billings and Dr. Nicholas are considering consolidating their position against the system, while Sims begin to doubt Bernard and the validity of his increasing questionable behavior. Meanwhile, Knox and Shirley seek a way back to mechanical, and the citizens of Silo 18 are being manipulated like pawns. Hostility now pervades every level of the silo. Over in Silo 17, Jules starts to question Solo's identity, uncovering shocking truths that change the narrative completely. Let's delve into this episode and try to understand what's happening here. So let's start. Silo 17 is a peculiar place in this episode. Jules is on mission to find a helmet that can attach to the firefighting suit she salvaged from her underwater dive in the previous episode. Early on, Solo reveals his real name as Cole Mears, but by the end of the episode, this claim is debunked. Jules discovered an old photo of actual Cole Mears alongside someone named Tiny, whose real name was Samuel Trina. The man in the photo looks nothing like Solo. When confronted, Solo lashes out, insisting his name is Solo and that he is the shadow of Russell. This revelation confirms Solo isn't who he claims to be, leaving viewers to wonder about his true identity. For those familiar with the books, it's revealed that Solo's actual name is Jimmy Parker, the son of the former head of IT in Silo 17. It seems Solo adopted his father Shadow's name as a way to feel closer to him. Solo becomes a pivotal figure in helping Jules establish contact with Silo 18. However, it remains to be seen whether the show will stick to the book's narrative or take a different direction. Solo's behavior throughout the series reflects that of someone stunned in their emotional development. His isolation for decades has left him stuck in the mindset of a child. Toward the end, Jules finds a helmet hidden under a bed in an apartment, but her troubles escalate as a cut on her arm becomes infected. The injury originates in the finale season of 1 when Jules escaped the authorities by jumping down the chute towards Mechanical. The cut was briefly highlighted then, and now it has returned as a major complication. It's likely Solo will find Jules unconscious and nurse her back to health. With this knowledge of the silo and access to hidden supplies, he might use medicine stored in his secret vault. This situation could lead to Solo opening up more about his past, potentially revealing secrets crucial to the plot and connection between Jules' mission and the rising water levels threatening to submerge Silo 17 within a year. The dynamic between Solo and Jules is far from over. So what is happening in Mechanical? Knox, Shirley, Martha and Carla are on the run. They're hunted not only by judicial and sheriff but also by the silo's civilians. Bounty on their heads has intensified the frame of Knox and Shirley as Judge Meadows' murderers, fueling the population's anger. Bernard sees their capture as a way to restore order and maintain the faith in the pack. He hopes this will return the silo to normalcy, allowing him to suppress the rebellion. Cornered by blockades above and below, Knox and Shirley make a daring escape by jumping off the edge while attached to wires. Interestingly, Sim's wife Camille secretly aids their escape, betraying her husband's interest, while her motivation remains unclear. Camille's past action in season 1, such as allowing Jules to flee despite Bernard's orders, hint at her harboring secrets. She may also even be an empathizer with Jules' cause. Bernard's discovery of Camille's involvement is bound to strain his trust in her and her family, setting up potential conflict. Sims, once head of judicial security, is growing increasingly suspicious of Bernard, especially after Bernard reconstructed the leadership by making Robert a judge and appointing Mr. Amundsen. Sim's frustration is evident when he is denied access to the surveillance room, a restriction that amplifies his sense of powerlessness. Bernard's unannounced visit to Sim's home and his attempts to operate the coffee machine felt like intimidation tactics. Sims, once loyal, might soon question whether Bernard plans to dispose of him just as he did Judge Meadows. Bernard's grip on the silo is weakening. He's losing support among civilians, his own team, and even trusted allies. Rejecting Sim's plans to impeach Judge Meadows, Bernard orchestrated her death, believing it would unify the silo against a common enemy. While this tactic has worked temporarily, Bernard's control continues to erode. If Knox and Shirley are captured and sent to clean, forcing the population to witness their death, Bernard believed it could reset the morale within the silo. This would dispel any hope of surviving outside and suppresses the rebellious energy growing within. For readers of the book, the consequences of a successful rebellion are catastrophic. Bernard is likely aware of these outcomes and is doing everything in his power to prevent it. However, his growing isolation and loss of trust suggest the rebellion might gain traction. In this episode, Bernard releases Lucas Kyle from mines to repair a hard drive. Partially restored, drive reveals a coded love letter from Salvator Quinn. Judge Meadows deciphered the code before her death, and it's likely she shared this knowledge with Kyle. This information about the stars, sun, planets, and the outside world could prove something. Paul Billings' investigation. Paul Billings remains suspicious of Bernard and the pact, particularly after finding the Flamekeeper book in season 1. Learning that Paddy Kennedy's and Cooper's bodies were not in the mold only deepened his distrust. Tracking down Patty in this episode, Billings shares a page from the book, a drawing of the outside world. Patty agrees to tell Billings everything he knows, including what he discovered while working with Jules in season 1. The episode ends with Bernard assigning the task of handling Knox and Shirley to Billings, who agrees to serve the silo. Meanwhile, Patty is being tended to by Billings' wife, Kathleen. Patty's revelations about outside world and the riot incited by Sims might sway Billings towards the rebellion. Episode 5 marks the halfway point of season 2, delivering revelations and building tension. The division within Silo 18 is becoming clearer, and Jules and Solo's story adds a layer of intrigue. Solo's character remains enigmatic, and fans can only hope the next episode delves deeper into his backstory. Performances by the cast are constantly excellent, with even minor characters like Kathleen shining in their moments. Sims' arc is particularly compelling. Once an insider, his growing sense of exclusion and powerlessness creates an interesting flick. It will be fascinating to see how this unfolds. As for Jules, her return to Silo 18 remains uncertain, but her survival could ignite the rebellion. However, the show could benefit from exploring the general mood of the population to provide context for the rebellion's potential sport. Halfway through the season, it's hard to judge whether it's as good as first. Season 2's slower pace, driven by parallel narratives across two silos, feels deliberate, setting up a climatic second half. As the action ramps up, the stage is set for an explosion conclusion.